Okay, recording started, guys. Good morning again. So, in the last class, we talked about what the cloud computing is, what's AWS is, especially the service called Elastic Compute Cloud, EC2. So we talked about what an EC2 is, EC2 instances specifically, and we created an EC2 instance in the closest region possible, right? We did that, and we were able to log into that using our own SSH clients because we provisioned a Linux-based virtual machine. And using one of the SSH clients like PuTTY or terminal for Mac people, we were able to log in to the newly created virtual machine, and we installed Apache HTTP server on that. We talked about security group. Security group is nothing but a virtual firewall that opens up the port. So we opened port 80 to the world and then started Apache through a small HTML file out there and tested our web server, our HTTP server. That's what we did, right? After that, I gave you homework, and then I asked you to create a couple more instances. And in that series, I also asked you to do to write a bootstrap script rather than waiting until EC2 instance is created, logging into that EC2 instance or SSH into EC2 instance, and then executing these commands one by one. So I asked you to write a bootstrap script. So as part of the instance creation itself, you can supply a bootstrap script. That bootstrap script will have, you can write any kind of Linux commands there. So using that, you may have created an EC2 instance along with the script. So in a single shot, your Apache gets installed, started, and it will make sure Apache is always running. Check config commands, right? So that's where we are. So what we'll do is, to kind of recap it, we'll take a couple of minutes to spin up a brand new EC2 instance. And this time, I'm not going to use one of the SSH clients like PuTTY to log into that. In fact, I put this as one of the homework objectives there. But if you didn't do it, that's okay. Not a big deal. So what we will do is, I will go ahead and provision an EC2 instance and then log into that EC2 instance using browser-based SSH client. So you do not need a separate tool. I will show you how to do that. So from here onwards, since we are early in the game, so once I show you this browser-based SSH, it's a simple tool that gives within the AWS Management Console itself. Once you use that to log into your EC2 instances, pretty much I'm not going back to PuTTY or any other SSH clients. Does that make sense? So let's go ahead and create a new EC2 instance. So your recently visited services are here. Click on EC2, or you can go to services and then compute section EC2. I do not have any running instances. By the way, I'm in Ohio region. Check here, and you can be anywhere. You can select your region. Okay, so I'm in Ohio region. I do not have any running instances. You can even click on that. So I had a couple of instances, they got terminated. And you know what happens when instances get terminated. So they take a while before they disappear. So you give some more time, they get disappeared. So click on launch instance. Let's go ahead and provision a new EC2 instance of T2 Micro. And I'm in Ohio region. So within we also talked about the concept of region, and within region you have availability zones. Each availability zone can be viewed as a logical data center. It's not really a physical data center because there could be multiple data centers within availability zone, but we don't care or we don't need to know what it is. For all practical purposes, availability zone should be viewed as a data center. So when you launch this specific EC2 instance, it's going to be launched in Ohio region. Go to under network, there is a separate section called subnet. So if you say no preference, then it will pick one of the availability zones. But go ahead and open this. Here you have 3 availability zones. So by the way, this Ohio region is called US East 2. US East 1 is Virginia region. US East 2 is Ohio. Similarly, you have two regions in West Coast, one in Oregon, the other one is Northern California. Okay, you don't need to know any of this. You don't just for general knowledge, right? So anyways, so under subnet, you can select which data center you want this EC2 to be created in. Again, I told you in the last class, we will not be using the term data center. We will be using the term availability zone going forward, because that is a EC2 specific, AWS specific term. And that's what you need to be familiar with for the certification. So if I say no preference, it'll pick one of these guys randomly. Okay, so I said no preference. We'll find that out. Add storage. This is my hard disk. This is my device volume. So this is a root device volume. Root device volume is where the operating system is installed. And what operating system? When we picked in the first step here, choose AMI, we picked AMI stand for, by the way, Amazon Machine Image. We will create an Amazon Machine Image today. But essentially, here we picked what kind of operating system do we need it. We said we need a Linux 2, that's Amazon Linux 2 operating system. So this is a Amazon's own flavor of Linux operating system will be installed on this specific virtual machine, the EC2 instance, and it will have a 8 gig storage by default. You can increase it if you need it. Make sense? If you want to add additional hard disks, you can select add volume and add additional volumes. So we will be doing that in the next step, but let's finish this one. Before we do that, let's go to previous step one more time. By the way, the subnet and network section, see here, it's a default VPC and subnet section here. We will be talking about network, subnet, VPC, all these concepts in very, very detail later, probably 2 weeks from now. That will be the most important topic for the entire course, okay? So come down in the advanced detail section. This is where you can put your script. So if you want Apache to be automatically installed and started, please put that script here. And in my website, I have a script already there for you guys. Go to AWS training here in my website, and then Unix commands. Go here, bootstrap script to install Apache. So I can happily put that guy here. Copy and paste it. Actually, just to be. I have a typical shell script. I have a shebang. Yes.
One question. See, why didn't you put the sudo?
Oh, this is going to be run as sudo.
Oh.
Because there is no user in the picture. as soon as your EC2 instance is created, it is going to run that.
Okay.
Your master user is going to run this.
Okay. Okay, that's one thing. Another thing in this context, actually, I had asked you also. So I've seen you sometimes when you get in over there, what we do is we get into our own specific user. And from there, we do sudo commands, or we can do sudo su minus root to get into root. But I've seen you sometimes without doing that, you go into root. I've seen the hash prompt. How do you do that?
I will show you.
Okay.
So you will have to use a browser-based SSH. When you use that, it gives you, give me a minute, okay?
Okay.
Probably 2 minutes, we'll get to that. So this is my simple shell script, and I'm updating the operating system with the security patches. I'm installing HTTPD, that's Apache, and I'm starting Apache, and check config, this guy is, it will make sure that your Apache will be running if you restart this specific EC2 instance. If you restart your machine, okay, it will make sure, this command will make sure your HTTPD is running. Meaning every time you restart your machine, your virtual machine, it will automatically start this one. That's what this guy does. That's all it is. And then you can echo something and say, something like that.
There won't be any synchronization problem, right? It'll run as a bash shell, like one after another.
One after. Oh, this will be running
yes.
Your shell script will be run, right?
Will be running. See, what happens is, I've seen sometimes in shell scripts that before it comes to the second command, before finishing the first command, it comes to the second command. I've seen that happen. Like the first command is processing, it does not come to the end, but the second one kicks off.
Yeah, it's for if you have some long running process here, and then and if you kick off something asynchronously and then move on to the next one, obviously that's destined to do, right? These are all simple ones, and I want this to be run in a sequential fashion, so it will be run. Okay, so I have my shell script, and then go to add storage. This is my root device volume. This is where operating system gets installed.
One quick question. Can I see the redirection over there where you are really redirecting that message, the /var/something?
Oh, okay. Yep.
/var.
Just
be there for a second. /www.
HTML.
Okay, up to there. Oh, indexed. Oh, okay. I see.
So what I'm doing here is that in this specific location, I'm creating an index.html, and I'm writing this content, my first web server content, I'm writing into this index.html. That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
Right? Go ahead and add storage. And this is 8 gig root device volume. Add tags if you have, if you want to do anything, something like my web server 1, because this is my web server. And then let's look at the security group. Security group, again, is a virtual firewall that allows the appropriate ports to be open to your EC2 instance. Okay. So let's see if we can select an existing security group. We have a security group called web servers, but this SSH is not for everyone. This is only my machine here. Okay. So I can use this web server security group, but I need to change this one. I have to open to the world. I'll tell you why. And then let's go ahead and review on launch. Yeah, everything looks good. Sure, I want to use batch 3 as my key pair. Let's go ahead and review the instances. So web server 1 is what we are provisioning right now. It takes a minute. Meanwhile, we can go to security group, because this guy, we know this guy is attached to this web server security group. So if you want to go directly to security groups, you can do services EC2, and then here you can check your security groups. See here, I have 6 security groups. Okay. And the one we are interested in, this web server security group, let's click on that. And these are the rules. Allow port 80 to be to everyone, to every single IPv4 address in the world. Allow port 80 to every single IPv6 address in the world, HTTP ports, okay? And allow SH port 22 only to this IP address range. IP address range, the reason I'm saying is, it could be anything. Here in this case, it's one IP address because it's a /32. We will talk about more, we'll talk in depth about CIDR. There is a concept called CIDR blocks. So we'll talk about the IP ranges and all in VPC section. Click on edit inbound rules. I want my SSH to be open to the every single IPv4. Okay. You may be wondering, why do you want to allow everyone in the world to connect to my newly created EC2 instance via port 22? Why do you want to allow everyone to SSH into my box? You know, you don't want to allow that, right? Again, as we talked in the previous class, we do not want to allow that. Okay, that is not the setting we wanted it. But I'm going to show you something that you can use your browser-based SSH client. You do not have to use PuTTY to log into your EC2 instance. From here onwards, I'm not going to. But the only sacrifice that we're doing there is you will have to open your SSH port to the world. It's okay because we are learning. We are in the test environment. Okay, but you are not going to do that in your production environment. You absolutely want to allow only to those IP addresses. In fact, your network team will not allow that. So probably there are few IP addresses from where the sysops people will connect to those EC2 instances, and only those IP addresses will be given in your security group, if that makes sense. In the real environment, that's what is going to happen. But I wanted to show you something simple. So click select your EC2 instance and just click on connect, or go to actions connect. Either way is fine. And then see here, there are three options. A standalone SSH client like PuTTY, and there is another option called session manager. But the one we are interested in is the third one, EC2 instance connect. This is a browser-based SSH connection. This is the reason. And we do not need PuTTY anymore. And see here, username, it is asking, who do you want to log in as? Do you want to log in as EC2-user? That's the default. That's the user you should use it. Or you can also pick root here. And then it will automatically connect you as root into that. That is why if I give root here, right, then you're automatically logged in as root. Then I don't need sudo commands anymore. See, I'm root here. I'm logged in, guys. I do not need PuTTY. I do not need anything. This is a browser-based SSH client. This is the best way to connect. Okay, you don't have to worry about anything. So click on connect, and this time I can use EC2 user. If I select EC2 user, see here, it is EC2-user now. So now you need to do, if you want to switch yourself, if you want to elevate your privileges or switch yourself as root, then you have to do your sudo su.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah,
this is
but
the reason.
How did you put the, okay, how did you connect, not this one, but you directly went to root. Would you show that once more, the first time?
Yeah, click on connect and then select this guy. See here, username.
Oh, you put your root over there. I see. I didn't see that before.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep. So that's how. This is your root. And let's make sure if our Apache is running, because if our script was done fine, then let's make sure if Apache is running. So let's make sure your HTTPD is running. Yes, HTTPD is running. So, and by the way, So this is my public IP. So let's try going to this public IP and then see what happens. On port 80, oh, my first web server. That's exactly what we gave, right? Remember in the script, this is exactly what we gave. And if you really look at it, you can go to your Apache's document folder, which is var www html folder. And here it will look for your index document. By default is index.html. So if you want to change this, index.html, and you can wrap this guy with h1 or h2, you can do that. That's it. And then refresh this. There you go. So any questions there? This is all we did. I just, in 15 minutes, we got that complete covered one more time so that you're comfortable.
So, Venkat, the browser-based SSH connection, the terminal. So, is it trying to access with the different IP? Is that the reason you gave it to anywhere to everyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Every time it kind of uses. It's not.
Static IP.
It will not be from your own machine because this is a website, right? This is a dynamic website. So that website is trying to connect.
Oh,
okay. It's not your local machine. This is all running. This guy's whole thing is an AWS website, right? So this is not your local tool, right? It's a browser. So that's the reason.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep. Any questions on that? Let me take a few seconds pause here and take some questions.
Venkat, can you show the inbound rule? What do you put as the SSH thing for so that everybody can log in?
Absolutely. So show me the inbound rules. Inbound rules are where actually, what is that concept called? It's called security group. Security group is a virtual firewall, right? So you are still in the EC2 dashboard. You can go down here. Where are the security groups, guys?
On the network. Little down.
In the network and security group.
No, I was actually trying to go to all the security groups there.
Yeah, network security and.
Yep. Thank you. Yep. So this is the security group section, right? So these are all the security groups that I have. Thank you, guys. Okay. So, and by the way, these are junk security groups, so I can go ahead and delete them. Additional security. Okay. Now I have two security groups. You can give your own name here. So let's give a name. This is a web server security group. Yeah. So here we have a inbound and outbound rules. Click on security group. You have inbound rules and outbound rules. Okay. By the way, even if you delete complete outbound rules, you are totally fine because the security groups, I can now probably talk because we did a couple of EC2 instances. Security group is a virtual firewall, as I was saying. Okay. This is a stateful, meaning if a packet, a network packet is allowed into your EC2 instance, the response will go out automatically. You do not need an additional rule to get the packet out. If you guys didn't understand, I'll explain again. Security group is they call it a stateful mechanism. It's a stateful rule, meaning a packet in will automatically go out, meaning you only have to worry about the inbound rules here. Okay. Later on, there is a different concept called network ACL or access control list. At that time, we will understand that, network ACLs are stateless, meaning you have to allow the packet in and you have to allow the packet out, meaning you have to put the rules for both of them. So when it comes to security groups, these are stateful rules, meaning inbound rules, only inbound rules are counted. So what happens is, when you put the rules, since we're talking about security groups, I'll go little depth there. So here, port 80 is allowed to everyone. Okay. And if you really look at it, you cannot put any deny rules here in security groups. In security groups, you can only allow. If I delete these three, then your EC2 instance is attached to this particular security group called web servers security. Web servers. We gave that name. You can give any name. So security group is nothing but a logical group in which you have multiple rules. All these multiple rules are bundled as a single group, and then you give a name, and that's what the security group is. Now you can associate that security group with any EC2 instance. So this is where, so HTTP, everyone is allowed. HTTP, every single IPv6 is allowed, and SSH, everyone is allowed. So if you want to, if you can give a a specific IP, I'm not sure who asked that question, but if you give me a public IP, let's say, just for the sake, let's say if this is your public IP, right? If this is your public IP, I'll just put, if your public IP is 65.23.2.18, then I'll put a /32. You will not understand why I put /32 now. Okay. But this is your IP, and I'm giving access only to your IP. That's what it means. That is how security group rules work. Or if you want to just pick anyone, anywhere means it is automatically adding these two. You don't need to utilize this fancy function. You can do a custom, and then you can do it. O.O.O.O/ you can do that.
Venkat, when you're choosing anywhere, because I think I saw if I pick anywhere, it will pick two rules. When I save it, when I come back again, I see two different rules.
That's right. Okay. The reason is, see here, when I click on anywhere,
now I understand. Yep.
See here, this is IPv4. Every single IPv4 address in the world is represented by this O.O.O/O/O. And every single IPv6 address is represented like that. Make sense?
I have one question.
Yep.
So when we say that you are giving a specific IP address, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in that case, that particular IP, when it is like when they log in, will they be able to go into the system without, like, there are no blocks for that one, right? So they'll be directly logging into the system without RDP or anything. Is that correct assumption? Or do we, in general, suppose if we are going to any server like on-prem or something like that is kind of on-prem, you have to do RDP to a particular virtual machine using your IP.
Yep.
So in this case, if we give permission here, then you can directly log into that system. Is that correct?
Let's talk about it. So,
I mean, if it is for the latter, we can wait.
No. We'll talk about it. It's an important concept that you brought it up. So let's talk about a couple of items here. Okay. First, you talked about RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol. RDP is used for Windows machines. Okay. So if you want to connect to a Windows machine, let's say in this case, we went back to EC2 and pick up a new Windows EC2 instance. And you want to log in, that's when you use RDP. Make sense?
Yeah.
So if you want to connect to an SSH Linux machine, you use this protocol called SSH.
Mhm.
And SSH works for Linux and Unix based systems. Yeah.
Yep.
And then the default port for that is 22. Okay. Now, by allowing port 22 to a specific IP, so that IP address will be able to connect to it on port 22. But it doesn't mean that you will be able to connect all the way through, meaning there is a second level of security, right? What is that? Your key pair based authentication. You need to have your private key. If I share my private key with you, and if I allow your IP address here, yes, you will be able to connect to my EC2 instance because it doesn't know. Because your security group says that, yes, this specific IP should be allowed. And then you have a private key.
Mhm.
Am I making sense?
Okay. So if I'm thinking aloud here, sorry for other
Absolutely.
reasons. Yeah. So if there is some kind of environment, production environment or somewhere, right?
Yep.
So there is a network admin is there
Yep.
who will give certain permissions. So the system is on a different IP. And then he says that, hey, for these guys, inbound rules are so and so. So I have something like 1.2.3.4 as my IP. Then he would mention that this particular IP can be added in this particular screen that you're showing. Okay. So in this case, now I should have that particular key pair on my system that needs to be given to the network admin so that the value pair will be matched. Is that correct? Is that what I hear from you? Like there should be some exchange of either he has to give me some kind of information from his end so that I can install that certificate or something on my end so that I will be able to.
I'm sorry. Okay. So did you watch, you were here, right, Manohar, last class?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So when we provision an EC2 instance, so first of all, EC2 does not allow password-based authentication. It allows certificate-based authentication. Okay, so what happens is a certificate pair. How does that work? You have in a certificate pair, you have a public key and private key. So either you bring your own certificate or you can ask EC2 to generate one. One way or the other, you have a private, key pair. So you keep the private key, and then what EC2 does is it will keep the public key part of it in your EC2 instance. Are you with me? So
yes.
It will store the public key part of that key pair in the EC2 instance in your .ssh folder. I will show you where. Okay. But when you try to log in, you will give your private key. How do you give your private key? In your putty, you know how to do that, right?
One quick question here.
Yes.
So when you refer you here, it is the network admin who created this EC2, right?
That's right.
Not
That's
the
right.
user. Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep. Exactly. So go to SSH auth and give your private key here, and then go put your EC2 instances IP address here, and then try to log in. What happens is it will check as part of the handshake. It will check to see if public and private key pair are matched. If you're wondering where would the public part of it will be, go log into your EC2 instance once, and then in your
I'm doing it.
You guys probably know that. Go to .ssh folder, cd.ssh, and then do authorized keys. Yep. See that? This is your public key. And what you have in your local machine is private key. So those two key pair must match.
So this particular key should be passed on to me from the system admin so that
the one highlighted.
Yeah.
No. The one highlighted is a public key. That's everybody can know. that is actually stored on the EC2 instance itself.
Okay.
Okay, what needs to be given to you is the private counterpart, the one we downloaded. See this guy here, PPK file or PEM file. This is your PEM file. This is what you needed. This is your private RSA. He needs to give you this one. Without this, you will not be able to log in, period.
Our system admin needs to give this private key, whatever we're seeing in the screen, to everyone who wants to SSH to the instance. Right?
Totally got it. You totally got it. Yep. If he wants to let you log into that EC2 instance. Make sense?
Yeah. Thanks.
Wonderful. No worries.
Get
No worries.
one more question.
Yeah. Can you give me 1 second? Can you give me 1 second? I'll just pause it. Oh, give me 1 minute.
Asking something. So on this case, when we are using PuTTY and we have the key, we can use the key. But when you're connecting from this way right now without PuTTY, you don't need the key pair anymore, right?
That is totally right.
Okay.
Yeah, still the key pair exists actually.
Working,
no,
yeah.
1 second. Key pair still exists.
Yeah.
Okay, but you do not need private key to log in. This is just a utility that AWS gave, through this browser-based SSH. Does that make sense?
Yes, because you already used your credential to log into your console. So
exactly. I'm logged in as a root user. I'm logged in as a root user itself.
Okay.
So when you log into AWS Management Console, if you use your email ID, whatever the email ID that you have signed up with, that is called a root user. As a best practice, you should never log in using root user. Then what should you do? Well, you have to create a separate IAM users. There is a separate concept here called Identity and Access Management, IAM section. Create a new user, give specific permissions to those users. Okay, they call it policies, a simple JSON document, and then using that, you log in. That's safer way, but that's okay. Just for the classes, but just wanted to put it out there. So the point is, the browser-based SSH is a simple utility that they gave us so that we don't have to keep this private key, public key. Public key will be stored on the server, but you don't have to use your private keys. It's a simple utility that they gave us. Make sense?
Venkat, Madhavi here. So one question.
Oh, good morning, Madhavi.
Yeah, I joined late.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah, if we somehow lose that private key, is there a way that can we connect? Can we generate? I don't know how it works.
So what happens is that's an excellent question. So go to EC2 here. So you have your key pairs, right? So you lost the key pair. So go ahead and delete that guy so that you'll be safer. Okay. Create a new key pair. As part of the new key pair, again, you will get both private and public key combination. So do you want Unix-based format, or is it a Windows-based format, right? Either PEM file or PPK file. Give a name, create a new key pair, okay, and then it will give you the private key. So I'll give just for, okay, Madhavi. And let's say you are using Windows, okay. So PPK, select PPK, create new pair. So there you go. You got your PPK file here, and so essentially what it did is it created a simple RSA key pair. It used those command SSH key gen commands in Eclipse and all. So Eclipse does the same thing too, right? If you Java developers, in Eclipse you can generate a key pair. That's exactly what it's doing. So it's just giving you the private key. Now what you do is the corresponding public key, okay? Now the corresponding public key, go associate that EC2 instance. That's all you need to do.
So then will it replace that public key with this?
You have to go do manually, go to .ssh authorized keys, and the public key portion, you have to put it there. By the way, just to make sure, I'm clear here, not only for Madhavi, for everyone, right? You do not, this concept is not specific to EC2. This concept, it's not cloud concept. So you guys are working in some organization, right? Okay. You guys are working for, let's say, a bank, and you guys want to use simple key pair based authentication rather than, you don't want to log in every single time. You don't want to use your password when you log into your Unix based machines. What you do is generate a simple RSA key pair. Okay, using, if you guys are using Mac, you can use your terminal SH keygen command, you can use it. If you guys are Windows, then use Sigmin-like tools and then do a SH keygen, or Eclipse will generate that for you. You get your private and public key pair. Now take the public key part, log into your Linux machine using your password for the first time. Okay, go. If .ssh folder is not there, create it, and there you create an authorized keys for file, and then paste your public key. Now come out of it. Now next time when you try to log in using putty, go to your putty sh auth. Okay, you know what I'm saying here. sh auth here. Give your corresponding private key and then go to here, give your remote Linux machine here, click on open, you're automatically logged in without, it doesn't ask you for the password. So I want you to know that this has got nothing to do with the cloud computing. This has got nothing to do with the EC2. This has got nothing to do with AWS. It works in your own organization right now. This exact same key pair based authentication. Am I clear?
How would this new key pair get associated? So we deleted created a new key pair. So
Right.
will it get associated to the instance that we lost the key?
Not automatically. So what you go to your .ssh folder and then go to authorized key and then put your public key content.
Oh, okay. So the public key content will be the new key pair.
Yep. New key pairs, public key content. You copy paste it.
Oh,
So that's why you can
public key
even
content or private key content.
No,
you
public
always keep the private key.
Oh,
Private key will never leave your machine.
Yeah, that's right.
Public key portion will be copied onto your EC2 instance. Forget about EC2 instance, your Linux machine or Unix machine, even in your own organization.
Right.
All it does is when you do a simple handshake using putty, it just checks whether private key that this guy is providing to me matches with the authorized keys. It will go to the .sh folder's authorized key file and then compare public key and private key. If they match, it will let you in. Otherwise, it will not. It's just exactly like a password.
Yeah, sorry. Actually, I missed the context. Actually, that's why. I know this, but I missed the context.
Yep, no worries. Madhavi, does that make sense?
Yes, Venkat, thank
and
you.
you can start using this to your own machines tomorrow. When you log into your machines in your organizations on Monday, please do that. Create a new key pair. You can create your own new key pair and store public content in your Unix machine. Keep the private key. Use putty. And there is another tool called Pageant. I'll not take any more time anymore on this subject, but there is another, what's the spelling? Pageant SH. So use this Pageant here, right? Using this Pageant tool, that's where you can store all of your private keys pretty much. And then you don't need to store anywhere. One time, you just set up your Pageant and load all of your private keys once. It will securely keep them. And what you can do on your putty is you can do a agent forwarding. There is something called agent forwarding. Go to SH auth. See here, allow agent forwarding. This guy, see here, attempt authentication using Pagent. When you use that attempt authentication using Pagent, it will automatically, so you don't have to give your private keys here. It will ask Pagent, Pagent, can you give me the private key? Okay. And there is a concept called agent forwarding and all. We will talk about it. There is a concept called jump box or Bastion host. We'll talk about that later when we talk about VPC and other stuff. So let's move forward. Does it make sense, guys, at this point?
Yeah.
Totally fine. This is all, good stuff. Okay. So what did we do so far? We had this EC2 instance running and connected. I showed it to you, browser-based SSH, right? Now, so this is all we did pretty much in the last class, right? So if you guys are not speaking, go ahead and go on mute. Yes, go ahead, Kasi.
Yeah, actually one question. This security pair is like availability zone based, right? Like, is there any way we can share it with the other availability zone? Like
security key pairs are region specific, not availability zone specific. They are region specific. Lot of services that we learn in this in the entire AWS, we'll find out that a lot of them are region specific. This is also region specific. Okay, it's not availability zone specific. It's not a data center specific, but it's a region specific.
So we can use the same key pair for same,
we can't hear you.
We can use it for same regions, right? Like for same security pair, like key pair.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. So we just did a simple recap, right? So now what we will do is, let's go. I wanted to talk about the EBS volumes. So you understand that EBS volume is nothing but a hard disk that's attached to your EC2 instance. EBS stands for Elastic Block Store. It's a block device that gets attached. Block device. You will understand later why I'm calling it block. Okay, later on we will learn something else called object store. Okay, so this block store is nothing but, it's like a brick. It's like your external, it's an internal hard disk. So you have a hard disk, you are attaching that hard disk to your compute. When I say compute, your processor, your RAM, etc. Right? So this is your EC2 dashboard, this is your EC2 instance, and go to your volumes here. Where is that? See here, this is your block devices. So we only have a one block device here, meaning one hard disk, that is your root device. So that's mapped to /dev/xvda on the Linux side. Okay. So the point is, we can attach an additional EBS volumes to an EC2 instance. You do not need just one. So go down a bit here, go to volumes. So see this one, this web server one, this is our EC2 instance name that we gave, right? This is our EC2 instance name. Go to EC2 dashboard. We called our EC2 instance. This is our EC2 instance name, web server one. Now go to volumes here. In the volumes, this is your volume. This is your volume ID. It's an 8 gig, and this is in US East 2B. Okay, it's in use. And what else? Yep, it's not encrypted. All of the details, right? So This is your volume. This particular volume, this happens to be, in this case, it's a root volume. This is attached to an EC2 instance. Make sense? See here, attachment information is this particular hard disk has been attached to this EC2 instance. Did we understand that point? Volume is nothing but a hard disk. This is attached to this. This is your EC2 instance. And this EC2 instance also will tell you that there is a root device that's attached. Okay. So the point is, let me step back here and understand and explain something here. So what availability zone this web server 1 is provisioned in? Availability zone US East 2B. So this web server 1 is provisioned in US East 2B. So there are 3 availability zones in Ohio: US East 2A, US East 2B, US East 2C. And this is automatically, because we did not pick the appropriate availability zone. Because we don't care about, there's no appropriateness here, right? So we said, I do not have any preference. You go ahead and provision your EC2 instance in whatever the random availability zone. And it randomly picked the US East 2B. So the point is, this is compute. This is your EC2 instance. This is where your processor is. This is where your this is where your RAM is, right? It's a one core virtual machine. Now, understand that this is in US East 2B, and the corresponding volume is also in US East 2B. Understand that point for a second here. So your compute and your hard disk, they are in the same availability zone. Availability zone should be viewed as a data center. So these two are in the same data center, is all I'm saying. So if I go ahead and create an additional hard disk, meaning if I go ahead and create an additional volume, and if I try to attach that additional volume to this EC2 instance, that new volume should be in the same availability zone also. Meaning your hard disk and your compute, they both have to be in the same data center, and it makes a lot of sense, right? You do not want to have your hard disk somewhere in Columbus, Ohio, and have your compute in Cleveland data center, right? Since we are talking about Ohio here. Does that make sense? I just wanted to point that out. So your volumes and your EC2 instances, they must be in the same availability zone. So let me go ahead and create an additional volume. But before I create the additional volume, what I wanted to do is, I want to log into my EC2 instance once using browser-based SSH, and I'll log in as root so that I do not have to enter my sudo su command one more time. Okay, I'm logged in as root to here. So I want to see all the block stores, all the block volumes that are available here. You can use this Linux command called lsblock, lsblk. And so this one will give me all the block volumes, meaning all the hard disks that are attached to my EC2 instance and the corresponding mount point. I hope you know what a mount point is. In your window, in your Windows, let's say you have, I have a Windows laptop, and let's say I attached one more hard disk to this, and then that hard disk, I created the appropriate file system on that, and then I have mounted that particular external hard drive to, let's say, a Y drive. So from here onwards, whatever I write in Y drive will go into that. So because I have mounted that external hard drive to my Y drive on my Windows machine. Similarly, here I have one block device, one block volume, XVDA, okay? And this one, it is attached to your slash. So whatever you write within slash, meaning your root, will go into this hard disk. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a brand new hard disk and attach to the EC2 instance and run the same command. Then I will show you that it will show me that there are 2 disks now. I hope I'm not confusing anyone here. So let's go to volumes there, and then let's create a volume. So we know that our EC2 instance is in USEs 2B, right? So let's go ahead and create a 100 gig. Let me go ahead and create a 100 gig general purpose SSD. And then I will create this USEs 2A to start with. Yeah. And I'll call this hard disk as my data drive. Yeah. Or you know what? Photos drive. Let's put one for photos, one for videos, one for personal files, secret files, etc. Okay. So let's refresh this guy. Photos drive. This one, I'm creating it in a different availability zone than my EC2 instance. I wanted to prove one point. So select this one. Currently, this is not attached to any EC2 instance. So this hard disk is being created right now, or it's already created. Okay, it's already readily available for us to use it. So let's go ahead and use it. Select this guy, go to actions, and then attach this volume to an EC2 instance. I'm sorry, I'm not getting anything. No matching running or stopped instances were found in availability zone USEs 2A. Because your volume, this newly created photos drive, is in USEs 2A, okay? Since you do not have any EC2 instances running in the same availability zone, it says that I'm sorry, you cannot attach it. But if I had an additional EC2 instance running in USEs 2A, then I would have been able to associate this one or attach this hard disk to my EC2 instance. Or if my photos drive, if I had created in USEs 2B, then I would have been able to attach it. So let's do that. Let's do that. So let's go ahead and create an additional volume. And this one, sure, 100 gig general purpose SSD, I'm fine. You can choose general purpose SSD, or provisioned IOPS is even much faster. So you'll be able to do a much faster input output seconds. IOPS, this is called IOPS, okay? Input output per second, okay? You have about 3,000 IOPS, 6,000 IOPS. If you're planning on installing your database, relational databases, or even non-relational databases. So if you want to install them, then you need high, provisioned IOPS. You need to have lightning speed reads and writes. Then go for provisioned IOPS. It's costly, but go for that for your database needs. And if you want to save some money, then go for magnetic and cold HDD. This is throughput optimized. This is good for data warehousing and data lakes and other scenarios. But general purpose SSD is good for most of the needs. 100 gig SSD. And this time I'll be prudent. Availability zone, I want to create this in USEs 2B. And I'll call this guy, my key's name. I'll call this one as, I'll still call it Photos Drive, but I'll call it Photos Drive 2B. Yeah, because it's in 2B availability zone. It's getting created. My Photos Drive 2B is it's available right now. Now let's go back and let me rerun my LS block. Well, it's still the same thing. Okay, because I created a hard disk in the same availability zone as my EC2 instance, but I did not attach to my compute, which is EC2. I did not do that yet. Let's go ahead and do that. So let's select this guy and then say attach volume. So now it is showing me my web server 1. because web server 1 is running in the same availability zone as my photos drive 2B volume. So let's go ahead and select that. And then this device here, you can select the appropriate, you can leave the default, or you can select either way, all the way from SDF to SDP. Let's say SDI or SDG. Okay. And it becomes your XVDG here. It will become XVDG here. So let's go ahead and attach here. So it's still going on. Oh, looks like it's in use now. It's not in available state anymore. It's in use. Let's go ahead and run the list block there, ls block. So now I'm seeing this is my root device volume. This is where your hard disk, this is where your operating system is installed. And my mount point is / here, meaning everything that I write to / goes into this hard drive. But now I see a new hard drive here, and this is a /dev/xvdg. See this one here? And this is 100 gig. The original one is 8 gig, and this is 100 gig, and this is again in disk. And this is a raw block volume, guys. At this point, there is no file system on it. You will not be able to write to it. Of course, before you want to write some, this is a photos drive, right? You want to write your photos there. You need to mount, first of all, to a folder. So what we will do is, let's go ahead and create a, since this is a photos drive, I'll create a folder called photos in /. I created photos folder under /. Okay. Now under root, now under / I created this photos, and now this is what I want to mount to. But before mount, this is not mountable yet because there is no file system there. Let's find out if there is a file system or not. Actually, I wanted to show you at this point. I wanted to, because I don't need to do this as an export like a typical sysops guy. I will share this this AWS documentation for you guys. Okay, you can. I'll put it in my website also. Okay, so I sent you that. So this is how this article will explain making an EBS volume available for use on Linux, and this ls block will show you that. And now, so the next step is find out if there is a file system. Okay, if you want to find out if there is a file system, use this command file -s and then your mount, not mount, your location or your name of the drive. So what we will do is /dev/xvdg, right? This guy, yeah. So if I do, I'm now inquiring, this is an inquiring command. I'm asking, is there a file system? What kind of file system does this guy have? This particular hard disk, what kind of file system does this have? Is what I'm asking. It's saying it's raw, it does not have any file system. But let me do the same thing for my other one, XVDA. XVDA is my root device volume. That's where my operating system is installed. So let's go ahead and ask XVDA. So it is saying now, it's not giving the same information. It is saying XVDA is x86 boot sector partition 1 ID equal to blah, started here. And so this one has a solid file system already there. Obviously, without having a file system, how did you install an operating system on it? How did you install your Apache on it? How were you able to do it? So the default, the root device volume already had a proper file system. But the newly created our photos drive does not have a file system. Let's go ahead and create the file system. Okay, and then mount /photos to that. Now we can start writing our JPEG files there. Make sense, guys? We are making our external hard drive. We attach the second external hard drive, the second volume, to our EC2 instance, and we are making it to use now. Okay. So now how do I create that? Well, you have to use this make file system command. Okay. So make file system, and your type is XFS. XFS is one of the oldest file system types. Okay. Now I'm creating it. So make file system type is XFS to /dev xvdg. Okay. Please create an XFS type file system to this /dev/xvdg. So /dev/xvdg is our photos drive. Okay. Now our photos drive must have the file system. Let's go ahead and run the previous command, file -s xvda, right? xvdg. Yes, xvdg now, sgi xfs file system. Okay, now we have the file system. Now it's usable. Now let's go ahead and mount /photos to this. That's it. This is all, you know, these Linux, Unix administrators or sysops people, they run these commands day in, day out. We don't do that. At least I don't do it for a living. Okay, that's why I rely on documentation. That's how it is. Okay. So now what we're trying to do is we are mounting now. So let's go ahead and mount using this mount command. So what we'll do is mount, and my hard drive is dev xvdg. This is my photos drive, and I'm mounting /photos to this one. /photos to this guy. Now it's mounted. lsblk command. Let's go ahead and run this. There you go. Now we have two of them. One is xvda. Xvda is its mount point is /, but /photos is mounted to xvdg. There you go. Now we have 100 gig mount. /photos is mounted to the newly created external hard drive. What it means is every single file that I put in /photos will be stored in that new external hard drive. Am I making sense? Let's go ahead and create a new one. Let's go to /photos now. Let's say vi1.jpg. I know this is a JPG, right? Let me see. vi1.html. I'll call HTML. This is one, and I'll create one more. Let's see. I have one vi2.html. This is two. Very good. So I have two files stored in the /photos. What I'm saying is that in a newly created photos drive 2B, we have these two files is all I'm saying. How did we do that? We created let's recap of what we just did. We created a new volume in the same availability zone as our EC2 instance. Then we attached that to our EC2 instance. Then we logged into EC2 instance and then checked the block devices. We found both of them, the root device volume and the additional volume. And the additional volume, we realized there is no file system on it. We created the file system, and then we mounted /photos folder to this. It's like in your Windows terms, your X drive, Y drive, Z drive. For example, your Z drive. Let's say you can mount your Z drive to your newly bought hard disk. So everything that you write into Z drive now will be going into that newly created hard disk, right? That's exactly what we're doing. There's no big deal there. Make sense, guys? Now I wanted to show you the magic. The magic is, I mean, as we know, this is a hard disk. It's not a big deal, right? It's a hard drive. Now, this is a EBS volume, elastic block store. That's a EBS volume. So EBS volumes can be attached to your EC2 instances. The beauty is that these are not temporary. These are not ephemeral, meaning even when you shut down your EC2 instance, these drives exist. You stop your EC2 instance, you start back, your files exist because it's a physical hard drive. It's a SSD hard drive. This one we created an SSD hard drive. In fact, if you want to change your type of your hard drive, you can change it, go to actions, modify volume, and you can change from general purpose SSD to provisioned IOPS or cold HDD or any of this. And you can increase your size. You cannot decrease it, but you can increase it from 100 gig to whatever. And this is your, the 300 IOPS are a total of 3000. Baseline of 3 IOPS per gig with a minimum of 100 IOPS, burstable to 3000 IOPS is what you get general purpose. But if you change it to provisioned IOPS, it will be minimum is 100, maximum is 64,000 IOPS. Provisioned IOPS is super lightning fast reads, lightning fast writes. That's what you need for any relational or non-relational databases. Make sense? Okay, so now what I want to do is
one question at this juncture.
Absolutely.
See, when you sometimes I've seen it given as 3 gigs per IOPS. Does it mean in one IO it grabs 3 gigs?
Not really. It's if you attach 50 gig disk, it means overall you'll get 150 IOPS. That's all it means.
Yeah, but sometimes I've seen that when you look over there, like in one of your videos, it says 3 gigs per IOPS.
Yep. Well, one second. 3 IOPS per gig.
3 IOPS per
Reverse.
gig.
Exactly.
Yeah. That means in one IO it gets 1 gig, or 3 IOs it gets 1 gig.
So what it means is for each 1 gig of the data that you get, you will get 3 input output per second. So if you have a 50 gig, then you will get about 150. You will be able to write 150 IOs, input outputs per second. That's all it is.
Okay.
So, understood?
Yeah.
If you have a 50 gig size, all right, you will get 150. You will get 150 IOPS, input output per second. Let's say you change that to, let's say 200 gig, then it goes up to 600 IOPS. That's all.
Okay.
Okay. So how many IOPS will I get overall from my hard disk is determined by what's your size of your hard disk, because I'm giving you three IOPS per gig. Okay. You choose it. Go ahead.
So I have one quick question.
Absolutely.
So in the earlier instance, like in the previous class, we were told that even when we stop and start the services, this particular EC2 instances, still we are able to see the particular file, right? So we stored one HTML file and then it is still there. So now whatever we are seeing right now, also the same thing, right? So
Absolutely.
You say that when we stop the service, when we stop the instance now, the external hard disk is still available. So you have that file there. So what's the difference between that one and this one? So is it the same thing?
Good question. Good question. So my mind was somewhere else. I'll tell you why I said that. See here, this photos drive 2B and web server 1, both of them, this web server 1 is also EBS volume. This is also EBS volume. So my statement is true for both of them. The reason I made that statement, is I'm giving myself a lead into another topic. kind of,
Okay.
slowly. So
Okay.
the point is, there are two kinds of volumes. One is called instant store volume. No, I'm glad you asked. One is, I'm going there anyway. One is called instant store volume. The other one is called EBS. There are two kinds of volumes. Okay. In this instant store volume, these are typically used for in-memory databases or in-memory caching techniques. Okay, you will be able to create an EC2 instance with an instant store. Everything is RAM. There is no hard disk there, pretty much. But once you stop it, whatever is stored in the instant stored volume is gone. It disappears because it's not an external. There's no hard disk per se. It's all loaded into memory for high performance caching needs. It's there. Once you start it, as part of your when you start your EC2 instance with an instant store, okay, you'll be able to start your EC2 instance with that much instant store. Let's say 5 gig. You have it in the memory, meaning in the RAM itself. So you'll be able to write to it, you'll be able to read to it. It's a super fast, lightning fast in your RAM. Everything is lightning fast, right? But when you stop the instance, whatever is stored there, your in-memory databases, you guys are familiar with H2 database and such. So in your in-memory databases, those are lightning fast because they are in memory. But once you stop it, everything is gone. So if you are using something like that, there is another kind of volume called instant store. These are ephemeral volumes, meaning these are temporary. They do not survive the restart of your EC2 instance. Once you shut down or once you stop it, everything that's stored on the instant store is gone. But that's not what we're doing here. There's a second type called elastic block store, EBS volume. These are not ephemeral, meaning these are not temporary. These survive your stopping, restarting, everything because your files are written to the disk and your disk is out there. Understood why I said that? So I wanted to kind of distinguish between these two types. It's important for the exam. It's important for real life also.
Okay, got it.
Later on, probably tomorrow, we'll talk about another kind of file store called elastic file system. This is, but I'll not confuse you with EFS right now, but with the EBS, I want to spend a minute here. With EBS, you will be able to associate your EBS volumes to only one EC2 instance at a time. Multiple EC2 instances cannot be attached to one EBS volume. Keep that in mind. Okay. So what I'm trying to do now is, we have our photos drive 2B, and this is attached to our web server 1. Okay. Now we attached this photos drive 2B to our web server 1, and we mounted it. We created two files, 1.html and 2.html. So what I will do is, let's unmount this guy. Let's unmount this guy from our web server 1, actually /photos1. Let me go ahead and log in again. Let's go ahead and log in. Okay. So list block. Yep. Your /photos is stored here, right? So let's go ahead and unmount it. I will send you this one also. There's another article. How do you detach it? Simply, you unmount it. First, let's do an unmount. So you unmount your disk /dev/xvdg. Okay, it's busy.
Maybe you are connected. You are in that. If you do CD out of there.
I'm not. I thought I'm
You
not
want
there.
do you need to close it?
Okay,
window?
another thing
Unless I
is,
have,
do you need to give,
go ahead.
do you need to give the device name, or do you need to give the mount point like photos or something?
Nope, you give your
Oh, yeah.
actual device
Okay,
there,
okay.
and then it will automatically do it. So let's go ahead and I know you'll be able to force detach also, but I'm not trying to do it. So I'm
LS
mount
-D.
the drive /dev/xvdg. Photos target is busy. Okay, someone is using it. So you can do either a couple of ways. You can use CLI, or you can go to volumes.
That's very strange, actually. It does not happen in Linux like that. In Windows external drives, yes.
Yeah, it's you know, you can detach volume, and let's see, it will detach. It takes a minute or two. So let's give a minute or two. So what I'm trying to do here is that this photos drive 2B, okay, I want to detach it from the original web server, take it out, and now I want to create a brand new web server, okay, or brand new EC2. It doesn't have to be web server, but I want to provision a new EC2 instance and attach the same drive to that, okay, and then I want to do a list block and then look at the file system there, because this time I don't have to create the file system because it's already there, right? My file system already created, and I have some files out there. So that one I will mount to a different folder. Okay, it's still in the news. Let's go ahead and do a force detach volume.
Oh, okay. You could have done one thing. Give a command called sync.
Rsync.
Yeah, it'll sync the memory into the disk. Maybe something in those lines.
No worries. Actually, what I can do is, no, I can force detach it. Let's wait for a minute or two while it gets force detached, or even actually, I can this one, yeah, and nothing can be written on that, right? It's your disk can be busy at this time, and then you can safely detach it. So let's go ahead and look at the volumes, and yes, it's available right now. Photos drive 2B is available. Okay, and then my photos drive, this is created in original USEs 2A. Now this guy, I can safely delete this guy. I don't need this because it's in a different availability zone. Now tell me, my intention is to attach this photos drive 2B to my newly created EC2 instance. I want to create a new instance and do it, right? So where do you want me to do it? In what availability zone should I do it?
Same.
In the same availability zone as my hard disk. So let's go ahead and, this is in USEs 2B. So let's go ahead and create a new EC2 instance, and we will call that as web server 2. Let's call that web server 2. I can actually go ahead and
Venkat, while you do this, I got a quick question to ask.
sure.
See this shell script that you're writing here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I decide to do it later on, is there any way of really adding it?
This is called user data. Okay, there's two concepts called user data and metadata. Okay, so in the user data section, you can actually, let me show you that. But there are some limitations out there because they will not run after every restart. So if you want to do that, there's a complicated way. I'll send you an article on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So let's go ahead and do this guy. And okay, guys, at this point, I'm starting with this one, right? So it is creating a brand new hard disk. Okay. And that's my root device volume, and that's where my operating system is installed. Now, I don't want to add a new volume. Rather, I want to attach an existing one. So let's go ahead and create this web server 2. Let's go ahead and create web server 2, configure security group, and select an existing security group, which is web servers, and port 22 is open to the public. Review launch, absolutely launch it, piece of cake. Let's do it. And now, I mean, you guys did several of them, so I can go fast now. Now, let's wait for a second for this to come up, and then I want to go to volumes. See here, guys, this is a root volume for the web server 1. This is a root volume for web server 2. From here onwards, when I say root volume, you know what I mean. Okay, so both of them are good now. So what I want to do is, oops, I did not select the availability zone. I forgot to select my availability zone. USC is 2C. That's I wanted to do it in USC is 2B, right? There's no option now. I can change it. So let's go ahead and create. Let's be careful this time. US.
So once it is created, we cannot direct.
You got it. You got it. You got it. Because virtual machine is already created there, right? It's a physical stuff we are talking about. Okay, so I'm creating this guy in USC is 2B. Let's make sure my subnet is correct. USC is 2B, that's correct. I'll call this as a web server 3, okay?
Security group.
Okay. Another 30 seconds wasted, that's all. It's that simple. So I can go ahead and actually terminate this web server 2. I don't need this. Fantastic. So let's wait. Okay, web server 3 is running. Let's go to volumes also. My web server 2 is, once the termination completes, this web server 2 will go away. Do you know why web server 2 will go away? Because this is a root device volume. This is a root device volume. During the creation of your EC2 instance, you said that please delete my root device volume upon termination of EC2 instance. If you're wondering where we did that, I will show you.
Checkbox.
That's a simple checkbox. Yeah. See here, delete on termination means EBS volumes persist independently from the running life of an EC2 instance. That's why they are EBS. However, you can choose to automatically delete an EBS volume when the associated instance is terminated. And when you create a second volume, by default, this checkbox is off. That means when an EC2 instance is terminated, this hard disk will be automatically deleted, but this one will not be. I want you to know that. Yes. But if you select this one, then this guy also will be deleted. Just an additional point.
One quick question. So why there is an option? Because you can't use that root if your instance is not there, right? So you would say that you can enable and...
No, I want to keep it. I want to, if I want to keep it, and next time when I create an EC2 instance, so for whatever the reason, if I want to store my, see, hard disk is a hard disk, right?
Yeah.
Hard disk is it's a hard disk. And then let's say I stored some files, some HTML files, some content, I stored it on my root device volume itself, I stored it. I can attach to any EC2 instance later on and recuperate, right? Understood? Manohar? Okay. So photos drive to B, guys. This one is available.
On mute.
Okay, no worries. This isn't available, but what we want to do is these two, this photos drive to B is in the same availability zone as our EC2 instance. So what we'll do is let's go ahead and attach this guy. Second guy, actions, attach volume. And we should be finding the web server 3. Yes.
But did your detach complete?
The detach is complete, yes.
Okay.
The detach is complete. Our EC2 instance itself is off actually. So my EC2 instance is stopped mode. So I only have one EC2 instance, which is web server 3. Let's go and connect to the web server 3 now. Root. I'm logging myself in as root. Let's take a look at list blocks. There you go. Your XVDF is our photos guy. Yeah, but there's nothing at this point. So what I wanted to do is, what's that file -s /dev XVDF. There you go. There is a SGI XFS file system. So file system already exists. You know what happens right now, guys? If I try to create a new file system, my complete hard disk will be erased and reformatted. So my 1.html and 2.html that I previously created are gone. So please do not do that. Okay. All you have to do is just mount. Now I'll create a new folder here. I'll just say /photos. This is on a different box now, right? So now either /photos, or you can call /photos copy, whatever you want to call it, right? Now you can do mount /dev XVDF. It's not a, oops, it's not. Is it mount to /photos? Okay, now list block. There you go. So now our XVDF guy, this guy is attached to, sorry, it's mounted to /photos. So let's go to photos. There you go. Your 1.html and 2.html are there. We can do a less or more. This is one. We can do a 2.html. There you go. That's it. Make sense? It's a good exercise.
So Bankat, when we're stopping an instance, but if it is a EBS volume, we're still gonna be built, right? Because it's still using the storage.
If you don't mind, can you ask one more time?
So what I'm saying, like here we are using EBS volume, right? So let's say we stop that instance.
Excellent question. Excellent question.
And because it's EBS volume and we are still using the storage, let's say
Absolutely.
I have 2 files here, so Amazon will still take money.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Search, right?
Absolutely. You will be.
Okay.
So now the interesting point is, let's go ahead and terminate the web server 1 also. Okay. Just for simplicity's sake, let's go ahead and terminate the previous guy. No worries. Now, if I terminate this one, what happens now? I'll terminate the web server 3 also. You know what? I'll terminate. Not a big deal. So what happens now? This is your question. Absolutely. So now all the EC2 instances are gone. Now wait for this one also to be shut down and terminated. Let's give ourselves a few seconds here. And I want you to observe, go to volumes here. All the volumes should be gone except your photos drive to B. Okay, see this one? Photos drive to B. Yes, you are charged for your 100 gig. Absolutely, because you're using it. This is your drive. This is your, you are keeping it, okay? And it's in the proper hard disk format. You kept it properly, okay? And you will be charged for your 100 disk, your volume. But the beauty is you can create your EC2 instance anytime and then mount it, right?
Venkat, it's Kiran. Why when we terminate the server, the attached volume got deleted actually?
Because those are root device volumes, and when the root device volumes will get terminated automatically when the corresponding EC2 instance is terminated, if you have the checkbox it's on. We showed the checkbox just now, right?
Okay.
So you have the checkbox on, delete on termination checkbox.
Okay. I got it. Thank you.
Yep, no worries.
And this case, so even if we stop any instance with EBS volume, like as a root volume, will be still build, right? Not terminate, just stopping an instance.
Absolutely, because you have your
storage.
When you stopped it, you will not be charged for EC2 instance, but you will be charged for your EBS. Okay. So guys, this is what we will do is, it's good stuff. So let's take 7 minutes break. Let's get back at 10 o'clock. Okay. And I want to see if you guys want
Venkat?
to do that. Yes.
The same EBS cannot be attached to two EC2 instances, right?
That's correct. If you want to do something like that, there is a much more resilient service called EFS. Okay, that EFS, will talk about it tomorrow, and you will be able to attach actually multiple EC2 instances. Thousands of EC2 instances can have this is like your shared drive concept. Okay, all these Linux devices will be continuously can write, and it will automatically maintain the integrity. This is it's a beautiful concept. And actually you will not be, see here, you will be built for 100 gig volume, 100 disk hard disk, whether you use it or not. We only have 2 files there, 1.html and 2.html. It's hardly a couple of KBs, right? But you'll be charged fully for this one. But with EFS, it's elastic. It will automatically grow, and it will automatically shrink. You'll be billed only for the size that you use it.
Okay.
Sorry, last question. One question.
Absolutely. No. Please.
This might be a very simple one, but so you are showing this as XVD, and then we have to provide name as from G to P kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is the relevance here? Why it is XVD? And I tried to put 2 characters like FF. It said that no, you can't.
Oh no, you have to see. It is asking us there, right?
Why 4 characters? Is there any specific that is specific for AWS?
No. This is actually, these are all the Linux.
Commands.
This is all the Linux stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's not
actually,
related to AWS.
No, actually, go back to EC2 here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to, if we read this properly, we'll understand. See here, when you add a new volume here, see, these are the only options we have it. You can select the appropriate one here. And similarly, when you create a new volume also, it tells you, I'll show you what I mean. When you create a new volume, okay. US is 2A, general purpose SSD, sure, create a volume. This guy, actions, okay, no, you cannot. Actions, attach volume. No. Yeah, so once you have your EC2 instance here, right, it will tell you here, if you will have to read it. It tells you that use from XVDF all the way till XVD P, I think, if I'm not wrong, P. Mm-hmm. F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Until that point, you can use it. Okay?
Okay. Right.
Wonderful. So what we'll do is, let's take, and I want to give, you guys want to, let me actually stop recording so that it's unnecessary.